Hey guys, this is Mercedes with Trim Podcast. Okay, Dill. Hey guys, this is Mercedes with Trim Podcast. I also own the Fellows Chop Shop. I am here today with George Garcia. George Garcia has been a friend of mine for years. He also supports my barbershop. I've invited him today to be on Trim Podcast to talk about several subjects. But first, George, will you introduce yourself to everyone here for Trim Podcast?
Yeah, George Garcia. I mean, just a
regular guy?
Just a laid-back guy that just enjoys people and having good conversations and connecting with the community.
Yeah. So, George, you've been like such a huge impact for me in my life. Like when I started the Fellas, I was 23 years old. I had only made it through 8th grade. Customer service was a 0. Like I had no idea. And obviously barbering's like 100% customer service. Mm-hmm. And I feel like you have the people industry like mastered. Like you know how to deal with people and like how to not only deal with people, but love people and like how to do customer service. What do you think? And I feel like a lot of people don't have that ability. Like it's a hard ability to have. Where do you think that your life took you in the direction of customer service and truly understanding it and mastering it?
Oh gosh.
I know.
I think, well, for me, it started way back. It started with my grandfather when he started the catering business when we were kids. I was about 8 years old. He had retired from working out in the fields of California, so he was a foreman for strawberry fields. So when he retired, he was pretty old. He was about 58, 60 years old.
Yeah.
He couldn't sleep. He'd go out to the cantinas and literally go out with his guitar and sell tamales. That rolled into him wanting to take the food out to the people out into the fields. So it was a family thing. It was him gathering the family, and literally he had a saying, "Let's take it to the people." And that's really where I learned to take care of those people that needed it probably most at the time.
Yeah.
You know, to bring food to them out in cold days, hot days sometimes. And he really showed me a way to treat people and be empathetic to them. I mean, half of the time, I kid you not, he was giving the food away because some people couldn't even afford it, right? But he wanted them to eat.
Yeah.
You know, that's just the type of guy that he was. So I think from the beginning, for me, that's really where it started. So I really looked up to him for years. I mean, I did that with him for about a decade,
yeah.
You know, growing up.
So like not only did you learn that like at a young age, but like every time I message you or I'm like, oh my gosh, like I don't know what's like going on. Like I don't know how to fix this. This is happening. I feel like you're really quick to send me like 4 or 5 videos. Like you must be constantly staying up on the trend of like, how do I continue to be a better customer service? Like how do I continue to do better customer service? How do I continue to better myself? Like, are you ever not bettering yourself?
Gosh, that's really neat that you say that. So thank you.
Yeah.
I'm constantly consuming.
You definitely.
You know, constantly consuming at least a couple of hours of podcasts, and really everything and anything that's out there. I'll try to consume it as long as it's making me feel good, and as long as I feel that it can help me help others. Right. But yeah, I didn't even notice that that's what I was doing with you. But I think it's like my books. I love my books. Sometimes it drives Holly, my wife, nuts because they're lying around everywhere, right? But I've got my area where I can see my books, and it's interesting because I can sit in my study and by even looking at the covers and looking at the titles, it brings back some of that content.
Yeah.
So whenever I'm struggling with something, I can sit there and just really ponder that and just look around and realize, oh, okay, I remember the content in that book.
Yeah.
By any means, I don't have a photographic memory like some amazing people do, but I love to be able to go back and reference those books.
Yeah.
So I'll do the same with podcasts and things that I listen to. I do consume again a lot.
Yeah.
I really do focus on the guest service industry, which is what I live every day, but really a service mentality, right? You can take it back as far as you want, as far as, gosh, the good old days of Zig Ziglar and those old
remember that
speakers,
book.
Right?
Yeah, holy crap, I actually do know that.
Yeah, Zig Ziglar, John C. Maxwell. And the neatest thing about even just those two motivational speakers, public speakers, is both of them were actually pastors.
I didn't
So
know that.
yeah, so they, even before they were authors,
Served before then.
they were serving a life of Christ, right? So a lot of their content really is based on servant leadership mentality. And it's great to even listen to new content because a lot of it is really just repackaged.
Yeah.
So the new content, it really isn't anything new. It's just given to you in a brand new package that just freshens it up a little bit, but really it just boils down to treating others how you want to be treated.
I totally agree. I want to take you back to how I met you. So I was still in our first location down the road, and I really didn't know like why I started my business. I just knew that like I knew why, I guess. Like the reason why was I wanted to give my customers a better experience than where I was at before, and I knew I would be able to control my environment and be able to do that. But then I really didn't know what like my purpose was. Like, what's my purpose of this business? And I'm like, I want to give back, but like, how do I give back? Like, who do I give back to? Like, you know, and you worry about like all these like fraudulent, like, you know, charity places, and you're like, I don't even really kind of know where to start. And I'm like, I'm just going to start small, and then I'm going to work my way up.
Yeah.
And Caden, your son, he's your oldest, right?
Yeah.
He's a killer kid. But he posted in like a indoor yard sale page that he was selling clothing called Your Tribe Clothing.
Yeah.
Is that what it was? And it was just little simple, impactful meaning, like words on like hoodies, shirts. I can't remember what else, but I remember feeling like, okay, I definitely want to like meet this kid. He's young, I'm young, and he's trying to make a difference in this world as far as people, you know, really believing in themselves and feeling good about themselves. And really, I kind of felt like it was more about suicide prevention words. So I met Caden, and then that's how I met you. So with all of your hospitality, customer service, people loving background, like that's obviously transpired down into your kids. And I kind of want to talk about like your kids, how you've motivated them to not necessarily be in your business, but kind of do their own thing and kind of find out what they're wanting to do, but yet impactful things that impact the community and this world.
Well, Caden was 17 when he started that t-shirt company, right? And he started it for his school initially to help raise funds for suicide awareness. And the words up front, simple, just single words, positive words, friend words, welcoming words, words that would just invite and inspire people to think positively, right? And then on the back, it had the suicide hotline. So for a few years, we sold those in schools to pay for the school's coaching for counselors and teachers, right?
That's amazing.
But that's how you found him and you met him. And I remember him coming to you and just loving you and just like, Dad, like you've got to go visit this place, right? And I've raised them kind of in barbershops and things like that. And when I traveled, and I still do for business, I go out and visit different barbershops in different communities all over the U.S. and Canada and Mexico, you name it. So he knew how much I love barbering. So he's like, dude, you've got to come check this place out, right? Yeah. And I remember the shop that you had down the street, just, what was it, 4 chairs? Just
four chairs, like 500 square feet, tiny.
Like three parking stalls, right? And things like that. And I had to ride my motorcycle if I wanted to fit. But it was great. It was a great experience to meet you. But with my boys, and I've got 3, the biggest thing I've tried to do with them is just really create an environment for them that will allow them to really explore what they're able to do, right? And to look around in their community and really look for opportunities that they can serve others. Look for things that other people need that others aren't willing to do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
With Caden, it was helping his school and the community. Nicholas, he was 14 when he took over Caden's initial job of sitting dogs.
Oh, I love that.
Okay, so he did that. He started that when he was about 12 years old, and he handed that over to Nicholas. So he did that, and then he rolled that into mowing lawns for those people.
Your boys hustled me for lawn care.
For lawns, right? And then Nicholas turned that into doing tune-ups for the machines that he was working on, and then people started bringing machines over, and he started doing tune-ups for that. And then little Jackson, was recruited by Nicholas to sharpen the blades.
I love that.
And then his little mind just went crazy, and he decided to just go around the neighborhood, knock on doors, and offer blade sharpening for like 50 cents an inch.
Dang.
Right? So
I
even to
love
this day,
the actual like the thought behind that, like a 50 cents for an inch, like, and they're like, I don't know how many inches is that. We're good. 50
oh
cents is
man,
good.
like, and you would have people to just bring him knives, and
love
sometimes
it.
the tip, because he was so cute, he was like 14 years old when he started doing that as well.
Yeah.
And people would just sometimes tip him more than what it cost to sharpen the knives.
The cool part too is it's not like you're not poor, right? Your kids aren't starving at home, but yet your kids are living almost a childhood of like a hustle mentality of like,
Yeah.
I'm grinding and providing for not necessarily myself. Like I'm sure you provide for your kids and all their things, but to give them mentality of like, no, work for what you have too.
Yeah.
That's so important. I think as parenting, like one thing, my kids always are coming up to me and they want to start a business, but I know that I'm like an overextender, and I know that I'll end up running their business for them. And I don't know how to be like, okay, this is yours. Like I support you and love you. I'll see my kids like struggling, and then I'll be like, I'll just do it for you.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I know I have this super like terrible trait. So I have not like dived into businesses with them yet because I'm not ready. Because I know like Mama Bear is going to be like, oh, they left you a bad review. They're done. You know?
Yeah.
So I'm like, so I'm just like, I'm so fascinated that like you're able to like support your kids without doing it, but yet not raising your kids poor, but yet still instilling the hustle mentality. Cause like, I think hustle mentality is so much like, oh, you know, I came from like a bad place and like, I just didn't want to, I wanted to like get out of this place and I wanted to do this, but like your kids are coming from a good place and still hustling. Like that's so crazy.
Well, that's an environment that I've tried to create at home.
It's
You know,
insane.
and because
Yeah.
I'm doing a lot better than my parents were
Yeah.
as I was growing up, and I think that's how it should be, right? I want them to do better than I have as well. But if I give them everything, then they're not going to understand that. So
Correct.
it's almost like creating a pseudo environment of scarcity, but taking that scarcity mentality and not allowing them or not letting them slip into a victim mentality,
Yeah.
right? Don't be a victim. Do
Yeah.
something about it. So
Yeah.
if you don't have something, do something about it.
Right.
Figure it out. Go out there and like you're saying, hustle, get it done.
Yeah.
Treat people right.
Yeah.
Get known in the community for having integrity, right?
Yeah.
Money is one thing, and I think that really the currency of the future, money will go up and down in value,
Right.
but integrity won't.
I absolutely agree.
Right?
Definitely.
So if you're known to have integrity in your community, people will hire you and they'll pay you what you're asking for.
Yeah.
And it's as simple as that. So at that point, really, the value of the dollar doesn't matter, but does your integrity matter?
Right.
It matters a lot more.
No, I definitely agree. I always tell my kids, like, there's one thing that you can control no matter what in your life, and it's who you are. And it's who you are. And who do
Absolutely.
you want to be known for? And, like, who do you yourself want to be?
Yeah.
And, like, you get to control that. You know, like, no matter what people do to me, I still get to be in charge of myself.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, I think kind of what you're saying. I want to talk about how your love for barbershops, because the truth is George does love barbershops. He'll be out of country or in a different state, and he'll send me like a picture of him like at this like super rad barbershop. He's like, look at where I'm at, like look at what they're doing, and I love it because I'm like, oh, that's so cool. Like, and I love barbershops too. And and you're in the food industry side of hospitality, customer service, and barbershops kind of more of like in the touch service industry, very similar but also different.
Yeah.
What drives you to love barbershops when it is a little different than your kind of industry?
You know, I think I had this conversation with one of your barbers. I feel that at times the barber really connects the community. It's where people go. It's where I go, and I can find pretty much anything out in the community because that barber
Yeah.
is trusted.
Yeah.
That barber is again at the center of the community,
Yeah.
and a lot of the times in touch, our guard is down as a
Yeah.
customer as well, and we just kind of tend to open up and just kind of spill the beans about what's going on, especially if you're a good barber that can get into the conversation with them and get them to open up, right?
Yeah.
And that's really a lot of that is really an emotional release that you leave at the chair, and you leave feeling so much better because you actually had someone that you could talk to
Yeah.
and can listen to you, right?
Yeah.
So I think for me, there is a lot of that treat yourself mentality, whether it's a male going to a barber or a female going to a stylist.
Yeah.
You go in there for an hour to really just put your guard down and talk to somebody. And it's like driving with your kids in the car and it's time to have that an awkward conversation.
Yeah.
Well, your eyes are on the road. You're really not making eye contact, right?
Right.
It's almost the same in a chair. You're not necessarily making eye contact with the barber, but for some reason you feel so comfortable in that chair that
Yeah.
you're just talking.
Well, and like how many people do you let in your like physical bubble? You know what I mean? Like when
Yeah.
I'm touching people that they're like, you know, like who knows when last time they had like a touch from somebody else. Like I'm touching their face or their shoulders or shaving them or waxing their
Oh yeah,
nose or
plus you got
whatever.
a blade to their neck. Or,
Yeah. And so like
Right.
I'm like massaging faces, I'm like massaging scalp, and I'm just jump right in. Like I forget
Yeah.
that there's even such thing as personal space.
Yeah.
You know, for me, I'm like just so desensitized to
Yeah.
personal space. And even just like outside of my barber life, when I'm not barbering, I'm like right up in their face, and
Yeah.
people are like, and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, like I'm just not used to that. Like I'm just used to like just really close, like just tight, like just energy filling.
I think that is so
energy.
important.
I do too.
That is so important, especially in the times that we live where we're in such a digital era.
Yeah.
You know, we're all lost in that digital
Yeah.
era.
The
you know?
non-connection. And
Yeah, exactly.
I agree.
Yeah.
So yeah, your barbershop love is like just so cool. Like I know that you've been with the fellas, and it's cool that you will send me pictures like when you go other places and try other places. And I love that you always are willing to like give me feedback. Like, hey, I was at this place and like this is like some cool stuff that they did, and I'm like, oh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Like that's a great idea. That's one thing that is hard about being like a woman-owned barbershop is like I can't really like go get a service into a different barbershop. So I'm like, and I can't really trust Jeremy to give me like all the good deeds because he's like, like not really interested. So I got you to like have my back of like showing me kind of like what's kind of some things that could happen in the shop. But how long do you think you've been coming to the fellas? 5 years?
5 years.
Why do you stay with the fellas?
Oh my gosh, this is where it feels good.
Yeah.
Yeah. This
Just
is-
brings in like all your happiness.
It really does. I mean, the vibe, the culture that you have here is for me, it's nostalgic. It really is. I mean, it takes
Yeah.
you back to me. I look at your pictures, I look at the images that you have up, and it takes you back to an era where life was just simpler, right?
Yeah.
And your love for veterans is amazing as well, right? And I have that love for veterans as well with a lot of the things that we do for suicide awareness. But your love for veterans, I mean, that's community. That's what's built America. And again,
Yeah.
barbering is really part of the tapestry of what America is. I mean,
think
my
so,
first
too.
barbershop was when I was, again, about 10 years old with
Yeah.
my grandfather,
Yeah.
taking me to that barber that was just the one seat barber.
Yeah.
And you just show up. We didn't have apps to set up appointments or anything. You
Right.
just show up and you sit there and you'd wait. You'd get to know your community, and then you get your chance to be with the barber.
Don't check the magazines on the counter.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Like just
yeah.
don't check for any of that kind
Yeah,
of stuff.
exactly. There's a section for that too, right? But yeah, that to me it's nostalgic, and you bring that to the community, and it's a good place to get away from the hustle and bustle of life.
Yeah, I feel like barbershops, you just like slow down. And like what's really cool is you're like, you see your mayor there, like you can catch the mayor in here every Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're going to see your city council, your neighbors, your bishop, like whoever it is, like you're going to see them in here. And you're sometimes next to each other and you're like, hey, oh my gosh, you know, like how are you? And you just kind of like reconnect with friends. And it's like, you know how many business deals have been made in this shop? Like if I should charge off of business deals, it's been
Right,
made in this
royalties
shop.
at least,
Yeah, I'm like,
yeah.
hey, the house gets 10%. Like
Yeah.
it's in so many good deals. It's been made in this shop. But yeah, I appreciate you, George. Like you're a huge mentor to me. And honestly, my entire team, my leadership team reaches out to you. My husband reaches out to you. My sister-in-law who runs our finances reaches out to you. I mean, you're like a mentor for just the whole fellas.
I love it.
And I'm super grateful for you. And I'm grateful for the impact that you've made on me. And you're always coaching me to be better. And one day we're going to be able to hire George. It's going to be a hot minute, but he is going to be part of the fellas team. He just doesn't know it.
I'm already part of the family.
Yeah, that's true. We just got to get him on payroll. Or we got it for free right now. We'll see. One or another. We don't know. So figure out something.
Figure it out.
Normally this is when I would say you look like shit, but I actually got to take care of you a little bit the other day. We got ears trimmed.
Yep. Oh. Wax.
Ears waxed. George is a fan. He definitely recommends ear waxing. And then we just got Presley to clean you up. So normally I would say you look like shit, but you actually look amazing right now.
Thank you.
And I really appreciate you being a part of this podcast with us. And yeah, like, let's do this again.
Yeah, I love you, Sadie. I love the team.
Oh, I love you too. Still.